So here's an idea. Amnesiac Dungeons and Dragons. GameMasters here, and we did this a long time ago, and we were recently going back over it, trying to remember exactly how it played out. Okay, it breaks down like this. There is a massive river known as Styx that spans the multiple planes. Similar to our river Styx of Greek mythology, in Dungeons and Dragons, it weaves its way in and around and connects to the lower planes and fiendish planes, but the waters had a very powerful effect. Those that fell in it, drank of it, or even had a single droplet of water fall upon them were at risk of forgetting their entire lives. Imagine playing a character in Dungeons and Dragons, but not knowing what all you can do. And that was the premise of how this one-shot began. I gave each of the 5 players a blank character sheet, and they had no clue what their class was. They couldn't even recall their name. The players didn't even know what level the characters might have been. They started off with no weapons, no armor, no clothes, no items at all, save for one item found nearby, and I'll explain that in a moment. It was only due to a kind-hearted farmer that the characters were able to even get clothing and a small amount of food. As the dungeon master, I knew exactly what their stats were. I knew exactly what their classes were. And as for names, I just kind of let them decide on that whenever it suited them to determine, hey, I think I kind of need to be called whatever. In doing some basic chores around the farmer's farm, the characters slowly began to figure out what their stats were. One player set to task to haul bales of hay. Another was tasked with helping to feed the farm animals, seemingly mundane things. But the player hauling the bales of hay, they were able to move about 20 bales of hay just fine, but encountered a large boulder that he just simply could not budge. No matter what he rolled, it just would not move. The player feeding the animals, it didn't matter how much feed she put out, the animals refused to get close enough to eat it. Then they changed tasks. She set out to move the large boulder, and after a few attempts, it was dislodged from the earth, and she was able to move it. She then was granted knowledge that her strength was between 15 and 18. The other player went to feed the animals, and without even pulling scratch grain out, the chickens would flock to his feet. The goats would bleat when he was nearby, and he too was granted knowledge that he might have an innate ability to handle animals. Over time, the others found 1 or 2 elements out about their characters as well, and they quickly realized that each of the 5 of them all suffered from some form of memory loss. That one item that I mentioned at the beginning of the video that was found nearby, the vial, that was half full of liquid. Now, because of the intro to this video, you and I, we know what that water was. It was from the river Styx, but the characters and players had no clue. They were beyond hesitant to even open that vial. I'd give them some strong hints like, you have a foreboding feeling wash over you as you gaze at the liquid inside the vial, or you're not sure if opening that vial is a great idea. Give me an intelligence roll. And when they rolled to determine what it was, to try and remember what this vial was for, I gave them a range of what their intelligence might be. With each of their other stats initially, they would be given a range. And as they used abilities that would correspond with those stats, they would hone them in down to exactly what those numbers were. The initial plan was to play this as a one-shot, but we ended up running this for about 2 months, and they were very into the mystery of the play style. I also ended up slowing down a bit the reveals of the forgotten stats, but after several weeks of adventuring, and I swing my sword at the whatever they were attacking, and then I would have them roll to hit, and my reply would be, you attempt to swing the sword that you found at the enemy, but the finesse it takes to properly land a blow just seems foreign to you. But then another party member would attempt to fire an arrow, and when they rolled to hit, I'd have that player roll for damage. And eventually, they all also learned what their class was. Now, back to the vial and the liquid inside. As mentioned, you and I know that it was water from the river Styx, which can cause temporary or permanent memory loss. During the course of the adventure, slowly, all of their memories would come back through various actions, and the final memory was that they had been playing a rival party to their actual characters and had been given a vial of water from the river Styx to administer to the hero characters. But the plan was not successful, as the hero characters kind of turn the trick against them. Yes, I had to force that as an out-of-game action with their other characters, but they were all okay with that as it was something that we all just agreed happened during downtime. The remaining water in the vial was left with the amnesia-stricken party, mainly just to see what they would do with it. Would they drink it, save it, give it to someone else, sell it, water a plant, whatever. Really, all it was that first little boost to get them to kickstart their rolls, intelligence, so that they had a rough starting point to begin to unravel the memory that they had lost. In the end, they set out to find the hero characters to exact revenge, and the next play session resumed with them playing their actual hero characters. It would be about 2 years later that both parties would end up crossing paths again, but that's a tale for a completely different time. What I wanted to present here today was a really cool alternative way to play Dungeons and Dragons. I think it could have been a fun one-shot, but for us, it was a really fun way to spend a couple of months. Let me know down in the comments if this is something that you'd ever try with your players. Of course, the storyline could easily be something totally different, but I'm talking an Amnesiac Dungeons and Dragons. Let me know too in the comments if you come up with an alternative way for the characters to have their memories missing. And until next our paths cross, may you not get stricken with amnesia.